Within the system of Reiki, there are 5 major elements that a Reiki practitioner will learn, practice, and experience. They are the spiritual and mental connection using the 5 precepts, hands-on healing for the self and others, techniques, 4 mantras and symbols, attunements. Each of these elements works together with the others to create a whole system for spiritual development and healing that is unique. There are many other variables to the system of Reiki, depending upon who the teacher and what the branch is. But these 5 elements are consistent throughout all Reiki courses, whether they developed in Japan or further evolved elsewhere in the world. The historical origins of the 5 elements of the system of Reiki are researched in detail later in the Reiki Sourcebook, available from O-Books. For today only, do not anger, do not worry, be humble, be honest in your work, be compassionate to yourself and others. This is a simple translation of the 5 precepts that are associated with the teachings of Reiki. They were introduced by Mikao Usui and are universal teachings. These precepts should be kept in mind throughout each day. This is the beginning of a student's spiritual journey. Everyone needs to be touched, stroked, cuddled, fondled, and held. Without this tactile stimulation, children and adults do not grow in a healthy way. Their emotional selves grow gnarled, crooked, bent, and deformed. They can be soothed, straightened, and supported by touch. Hand positions are specific places on the body where students are taught to place their hands. This is for the purpose of assisting the energy to move through the body, clearing and strengthening one's spiritual and energetic connection. In modern courses, students practice this on themselves and on others. A 1-hour Reiki treatment is made up of a practitioner placing hands on or off the body of the client. The energy moves through the practitioner and is drawn by the client into the body. This is the same concept when practiced on oneself. Some teachers' instructions about hand positions are very strict, while others work from a solely intuitive perspective. There is no right or wrong, though it is useful to have some guidelines to follow as a beginner. Guidelines initially build confidence to a point where students can eventually break away from them. A seminar is very pleasant to sit and listen to, but it is personal experience gained during a course that is truly enriching. For this reason, it is integral that a Reiki course allows time for experiential work. Within the course, it is most beneficial if the student is given the opportunity to work with Reiki on different people. This immediately broadens the experience and helps build confidence. Techniques employ 4 qualities that reflect the nature of our world. Depending on the circumstance, you should be hard as a diamond, flexible as a willow, smooth flowing like water, or as empty as space. A number of techniques were used in Mikao Usui's early teachings. Only a very few of these made it across the ocean to America in the late 1930s with Hawaii Takata. Since that time, a great variety of techniques have been added to the system of Reiki. Many of these techniques have no foundation in the Japanese culture, and the majority have been introduced through the New Age movement. A good example of this is the chakra system that is taught almost across the board in the system of Reiki as it is known today. Traditionally, the Japanese used the Hara center as a method to stimulate and balance energy in the body, not the chakra system. Techniques are in the system of Reiki for a number of reasons. They strengthen the connection to the energy, to build one's own energy, to create focus, and to support a spiritual journey. Some new techniques support these aims, while others seem to complicate the system of Reiki needlessly, giving the teacher more power. One key reason why new techniques have been added to the system of Reiki is that there has been limited understanding as to what Mikao Usui's original teachings entailed. This lack of understanding has been exacerbated by insufficient historical documentation. This does not mean that many of these techniques are not of value, although it does mean that they do not belong to the early teachings of Mikao Usui or the system of Reiki. Since the stars have fallen from heaven and our highest symbols have paled, a secret life holds sway in the unconscious. That is why we have a psychology today, and why we speak of the unconscious. All this would be quite superfluous in an age or culture that possessed symbols. There are only 4 mantras and symbols in traditional forms of the system of Reiki. Here again, there has been great change in the use of mantras and symbols since Mikao Usui began his teachings. Their meanings have changed and many new symbols have either been created or taken from other cultures and systems and added to the system of Reiki. Mantras and symbols have also had a certain mysticism attributed to them. This has even led to the meanings behind the 4 traditional symbols gaining in significance over the years. At first, they were provided like training wheels for students to discard once they had become the appropriate energy. Today, they are credited with ideals such as protection, bringing in power, enhancing, manifesting, and healing karma. These were never the major focus of the mantras and symbols, and yet it is true. Some of these ideals are byproducts of their practice. There is a misunderstanding here about the basic reason for the introduction of mantras and symbols into the teachings. Initially, Mikao Usui introduced symbols for those who had difficulty invoking the energy. That was all. Initiation is, first and foremost, a means calculated to induce the novice to discover for himself certain facts that are not directly revealed to him, but which, by the aid of symbolic rites, he will eventually perceive himself. It is not intended to enlighten the novice, but rather to lead him to become conscious of what has hitherto been hidden from him, because his mental eye has not been capable of perceiving it. Attunements are integral to Mikao Usui's teachings. To practice the system of Reiki, students must first receive attunements. Methods differ, but the purpose is the same: to strengthen the student's connection with spiritual energy and to raise their personal energy levels. An attunement is where a teacher completes a physical ritual around a seated student. The student generally has his or her eyes closed, concentrating on breathing or another form of meditation. There have been many variations on this. Some teachers touch the body and others do not. Some move around the front and back of the body, and some claim to even attune the feet. An attunement is relatively short, a couple of minutes in length, but it is a pleasant experience for the student to sit and enjoy the sensation of energy in the body. Attunements were initially called Reiju in Japan, and when the system moved out of the country, they became known as initiations, empowerments, or attunements. There have been many claims made about the effects of an attunement. The hunt for the perfect explanation of what an attunement does is ongoing. Some traditional teachings explain the attunement with the words more practice. In other words, if you keep practicing, then you will discover the answer for yourself. Something as profound as an attunement is difficult to analyze at a human level. In essence, the purpose of an attunement is a sense of reconnection to one's true self, a clearing of the meridians allowing the student to conduct more energy through the body, a method a teacher uses in order to communicate with individual students on an energetic level. Though attunements may vary from branch to branch, They all seem to work to some degree, provided there is a perceptible basic core of the ritual coupled with clarity of intent. This occurs due to the fact that everything is made of energy, and everyone has an innate ability to heal both themselves and others. There are different setups that teachers will use when performing attunements on students. Most teachers perform the complete attunement on one student at a time. Some may even go so far as to take each student into a separate room, performing a complete attunement on the back and front in one go. When working with a large group of students, some teachers have been known to walk down the front row of students completing only the front section of the ritual, and then walk down the back of the row completing only the back section. The attunement ends with the person they began with. It has been suggested that this method creates an incomplete energetic connection between the teacher and student. Students may also receive as many attunements as they wish. In fact, the more, the better. In Japan, these are repeated on a weekly or monthly basis and are not aligned to receiving new levels of certification, which is often believed to be the case in modern teachings. They do not appear to change the ritual for separate levels either, as is also often done today. The differences in understanding relate back to the traditional belief that a student will only ever take in the amount of energy from an attunement that is required by the student at that particular time. This is often disregarded today, with the teacher being given more power. At no point should an attunement rely on the power of the teacher. Modern teachers have been known to announce that the level 1 attunement works on the physical level, while the level 2 attunement works on the emotional level, and so on. These are examples of New Age mystification, where teachers pretend to control the attunement process with their power. In reality, an individual will draw the energy to wherever the body decides. This is not for the teacher to decide. As an attunement is a powerful clearing of the body's energy, it is impossible to undo this or wipe it out. Each attunement received takes the student a step further to realigning oneself with the natural functioning of the body. For this reason, it is also impossible to make an attunement last for a limited period of time. Some crafty individuals have been known to say that a free sample attunement will only last for 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 days. Students believe they are given something wonderful and then it is taken away again. If students did not know any better and wanted to continue receiving the benefits of Reiki, they would then need to pay, maybe again, to do a course with the teacher. Apart from the fact that an attunement cannot wear out within a prearranged time, energy doesn't wear a watch. There is also a major misconception about Reiki here. Attunements are beneficial and integral to the system of Reiki, but it is the personal practice that rains blessings down upon the student. Want to learn far more about Reiki? Well, for that, you need a sourcebook, and we have the perfect one for you, the Reiki Sourcebook. And we are publishing a 20th anniversary edition. 20 years ago, the Reiki Sourcebook revolutionized the Reiki community with its comprehensive coverage of the history, practice, and philosophy of the system of Reiki. It meticulously tracks every significant aspect of the system's inception in early 1900s Japan to the West and back to Japan. This anniversary edition celebrates the depth of research and clarity that this book has brought to the Reiki community, with an introduction for beginners and a chronological history that answers questions like, where did the attunement process come from? And which hand positions are correct? These pages explain and illustrate techniques from both Japan and the West. Grab your copy right now, available from O-Books. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for future content, and we will see you next time.